Call the special regular council or meeting of council to order and ask first of all for there's an agenda in front of you. It's been marked up. If you it's now the amended agenda. So if you've been looking at home or whatever, it's been changed. You need to sort of make sure you've got the most current one. But I would ask for a motion to adopt the agenda that's in front of you, Councillors Cunningham and Skelton Morvan. Any discussion? Any additions, deletions? All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. We now have an opportunity for members of the public to make comment on any issue that's coming up in the agenda. And I know that we have some people joining us specifically by Zoom, but there will be a time for them to talk later. This is for members of the public that are here in the gallery. If there's anyone that wants to address council on any of the issues that are coming up on the agenda, you can feel free to do so now. Come on forward.
I just want to.
You do need to come forward and come to the microphone, Mr. Saka, just so that other people can hear what you're. No.
Hello, my name's Terry Saka. The question I have is you said that the agenda has been amended.
Yes.
There's some additions.
Yes.
I've got this here. That's what I picked up at.
Okay.
So I'm just curious as to what are the additions.
Okay. Do you have the copy of the amended agenda?
I can certainly print one. The amended agenda has the new recommendations for the 2 remedial action orders, and then the 2 bylaws. I can certainly print that out right now.
Yeah. So to be clear, the cleanup of the roses, what we know as roses, is on here. The cleanup of the Angus apartments.
Yeah, I've got those.
Okay, and the orders specific to those. So the recommendations are in there, and then as well as the bylaw for the loans, the 2 loans, the $5 million and the $40 million loan.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So I'd just like to have a commentary on the 40 million. Can I speak on that?
Absolutely.
Okay. That seems to be like a lot of money that over the next 3 years is going to be downloaded on the taxpayers of Prince Rupert. I recall when the budget was formulated and and accepted that Mr. Pucci at that time, I believe, stated that over the 3 years of repayment will cause increases to the taxpayers of Prince Rupert. And I believe the numbers that he cited was the first year was $138 and then $124 and then $118. That could be out here and there. But that seems like a lot of money to be downloaded on the taxpayers of Prince Rupert on something that is really not proven. It's been used other places, I granted.
Sorry, what are you saying? What's been used?
The 40 million to
this is for water pipes. That 40 million is for the water pipes.
Oh, okay. I thought it was for the flooding of the swamplands, as Mr. Put.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're talking 2 different things here.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm sure we'll be able to explain a little bit more about that when we get into it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I misunderstood. I thought we were talking about the 40 million that the city intends to borrow to facilitate the project flooding the Almanica area.
No. That's to my knowledge fully funded through a provincial grant, and it's about $6 million as I recall.
But the city will be putting money into that as well
if there's overruns. Yeah.
Well, to get the grant, you got to get money. You got to put up money, right?
No. I think on this one it's a pilot project funded by the province of British Columbia.
Entirely?
I believe so. But I'll confirm that to you, Mr.
Okay.
Saka, yeah.
Because it's not, that was not my understanding when Mr. Pucci gave the report on that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Anyone else want to come and address council on any matter that's on the agenda? All right, hearing none, then we'll move on to the rest of the agenda. There is a consent agenda in front of you. I'd entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda. Councillors Ady, Councillor Randawa. I would like Director Pucci, if I'll invite you to comment on any other one you want, but I'd invite Director Pucci to speak directly to the community water treatment. And the report outlines, and I think this is important for the community to hear because I know there's a lot of interest in water treatment. The report outlines that this is going to be put on pause. And so Director Pucci, if you could comment on that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are you able to hear me fine?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I've outlined in my memorandum that we are in the process of seeking an extension to our grant associated with water treatment. The grant that we have right now is for water treatment, but it's also connected to the overland section and the Fern Passage section of the waterline replacement. This is totally separate from the $65 million that we've also been very generously given from the province of British Columbia. We've done some recent testing on our system, and we found that we have significant issues with leakage. We're thinking it's primarily in the older sections, which will likely be the sections that will all be changed out. Sophisticatedly treating water, not just doing what we're doing now. So doing, ultraviolet or DAF or whatever we're looking at doing for treatment, there's a cost to that. So every cubic meter that you treat, you put into a pipe. And if you're losing, half of that, 40% of that into the ground, you're really just losing money. Plus, we would be oversizing that, that plant. And it wouldn't really be sized appropriately for the community's needs, which is significantly less. So one of the reasons why we're seeking an extension is to finish the water distribution network, change out the 26 kilometers of pipe, which will then have a tighter system, and we can then redo the testing and look at exactly the size of facility that we need. So those are the two main reasons. The third reason is around just our current financial situation. We want to be able to get new revenues in, again, to support not having to go for a loan to pay for this. We've had a significant increase in cost on the project. And so we're hoping that in time our revenues will increase, will allow us to self-fund the project. The province seems to be amenable to this. We've submitted the letter for extension, and they agree that getting the distribution system in order prior to having treatment is the best thing to do. If we can't get the treated water to the homes, then there's no point in having treated water. So they are on board with that so far. So we're looking at design in around 2026, 2027, construction 2027, 2028, commissioning 2029. Thank you.
Great. Any questions from council on that or one of the other reports that Director Pucci has authored? Councillor Ady.
Through the mayor, just a question about the water treatment facility. I understand the reasons that you've given. I also understand that we're in the middle of another boil water advisory period. I'm just wondering whether the two things have much to do with each other. So if we were to build the water treatment plant earlier, would that reduce the number of boil water advisories, or would we still be in the same boat anyway?
So I'll start the answer. I need to tell you that you're going to see a long video on water coming out tomorrow or soon, where I made Director Pucci at a whiteboard walk through all of this. And it's long, but I think given how critical it is to the community, I really encourage people to, curl up, get some popcorn, and watch it. And and I can flash right to what he drew out and tell you that no, that won't make a difference, because we're getting really clean, clear water, the clearest water we've had in decades, coming down the pipe out of Woodworth. When we get breaks along the way up to the reservoir, it gets disturbed a bit, goes into the reservoir fairly clean. It's what happens after that. And because we're in the ground, interrupting pipes, opening up pipes, we could be putting people off and on of boil water just continually, which would confuse people. And so, Director Pucci, I don't know if you want to speak to what you anticipate we're going to be doing going forward. Um, Again, he talked a lot about how some of the places were reversing the flow in the pipe. For example, where Crestview got interrupted, we had to reverse flow in pipes. And there's little things that have been hanging in there with the water going one way, and they're very comfortable where they are. And then you reverse the flow. And so, Director Pucci, I'll turn to you if you want to fill in the blanks.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When we're doing small repairs and we're not affecting the water system, then we don't need to do boil waters and such. But as soon as we start removing sections of pipe and doing larger repairs, there's the ability for contaminants to get in the pipe and then obviously into people's homes. So we've decided at this point right now, during this sort of time where we have a lot of openings, I would say that we're just holding a precautionary boil water notice for the next little while until we can really get things under control and assess where we're more planned infrastructure replacement with possibly areas that we can say, you know what, this section of town is not going to be affected. You will not be on a boil water, but over here where we have a significant amount of pipe open, you will be on one. When we do replacement in these larger sections, which we're planning to do, and hopefully we'll get the ability to do that very soon, people will be on temporary water, which will absolutely be on boil water. Some of the temporary water will be above ground through some will simply be on garden hoses. There's different types of ways to do that depending on how many houses you have to fit out. So we'll be doing it in several different ways. But the mayor is correct with that, is that we are trying to do our best to not disrupt people's daily lives. So we believe that instead of this on and off scenario, where in the same day it could be on and off, that we keep a precautionary one on for a little while until we're comfortable that there will be a long time that people will be without or won't require boil water. So at this point, when we have so much open, we've just put a precautionary one on. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Cunningham.
Okay, on the water treatment plant, I understand we have a large leakage anyway on the existing structure, and that any treated water would just be water running into the ground and a waste of money. From that point of view, that was explained to us at a council meeting a while back, so I can see putting that off. But my question's more on some of the purchase policy.
Sure.
On, like, for example, Yellowhead paving. We've got a bill for $105,000, and I don't see very many lines painted in town. You know, we constantly, as councillors, keep getting complaints about there's no lines painted and things like this. And is this just for what's being done, or?
Sorry.
Go ahead, Director Pucci.
Through the mayor. So this is that's the entire the entire budget there, but not all of it is complete. There is still one more time that they will be coming back to town. So this is we've awarded it. They've come. I think they've come twice now, maybe even 3 times, but twice for sure. And they will be back one more time.
Well, I
Go
find
ahead.
this totally unacceptable. We've had good weather. They should be here painting. I know they're doing everything from yellowhead communities all up and down the line, but still, we're paying money for a project and we're not getting a bang for our buck. You drive around town right now, lines that were there are gone. Crosswalks, you don't even find them sometimes, and things like this. So, and we're a month away from winter weather. So I can't see them coming one more time and completing it. I think some pressure should be put on Yellowhead to get here and get this done and get it done. You look at the weather for the next 2 weeks. We've got a break between maybe Thursday to Sunday, and then it's back to rain. They can't be painting in the rain. And we've had some really nice weather, and I haven't seen them anywhere in town. That's
I'm
one.
sure. I'm sure Director Pucci's taking that those comments under
Okay.
advisement.
Now the other one is environmental services. What are those environmental services for?
Director Pucci.
$211,137 for Gitgatla operations.
So we have all of our testing requirements for, so we put out an RFP for all of our testing associated with the federal government and the provincial government. So we have to test at all of the last manholes that go out into the harbor. We have to test at our landfills, all of them, and just various testing. They've really stepped up on the amount of testing we have to do. We do not have the people in-house to do that. So we put out an RFP. We had 2 compliant bids come in. We had Kitsala and McElhaney. And what we did was we worked and we found a way to award to both of them. So we did the provincial stuff to one of them and the federal stuff to the other. And I can't tell you which one is which, but everyone got work and everyone was happy with that. But these are absolutely necessary for compliance with the government.
Are these going out to bid, or are they just being handed to these people?
Yeah.
I'm looking at you.
No, I know, but go ahead, Councillor Cunningham.
No, are these going out to bid to more than one party, or are they just being handed to these people?
Director Pucci.
Yeah, through the mayor. So this went out as a bid, like on BC bid. So when it says RFP on it, it went for a request for proposal out on BC bid. So they went out.
All right. Any other questions? All in favor of accepting the consent agenda? Any opposed? Thank you. We will then move on to a report from the Director of Operations. Again, it's Director Pucci with regards to the capital paving program, with the recommendation that Mayor and Council approve the recommendation of staff and award the 2023 paving program to Adventure Paving. I would entertain a motion to that effect. Councillor Cunningham, Councillor, what's your name? Councillor Naish. I'm in vacation mode here. This is awful. All right. Any discussion, comments, or questions? All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. We then move on to the report from the corporate administrator with regards to remedial action order for 741 3rd Avenue West, which would be more commonly known as Roses. I am going to read the recommendation. It's lengthy. I'm going to be doing a fair bit of reading tonight, but I want to make sure that we're clear. And then I will ask for a mover and a seconder to that recommendation, and then I'll give an opportunity for people to speak to that, all right? So the recommendation is that the bus and the car, in brackets the chattels, located adjacent to the building located at 741 3rd Avenue West, Prince Rupert, legally described as Parcel B, BV 18042, Block 32, Section 1, District Lot 251, Range 5, Coast District Plan 923, PID 025-584-006, in brackets known as the property from here on in, be declared a hazard under Section 73 and a nuisance under Section 74 of the Community Charter, and that the registered owner of the property be required to remove the chattels by 4:30 p.m. PST, Pacific Standard Time, Friday, August the 18th. And that if the chattels are not removed by 4:30 p.m. PST, Friday, August the 18th, 2023, staff are directed to remove said chattels and with all costs associated to be borne by the registered owner. And that the building, in brackets, the building, located at the property be declared a hazard under Section 73 and a nuisance under Section 74 of the Community Charter, and that the registered owner of the property be required to commence action to remove or demolish the building within 30 days, and that if the work to have the building removed has not substantially commenced within 30 days, staff are directed to remove the building with all costs associated to be borne by the registered owner. And that, for the purposes of this resolution, remove or demolish shall mean to either remove or cause to be removed all building components, including but not limited to the roof, beams, walls, floors, electrical, plumbing, mechanical systems, to the remaining foundation, and any wood or concrete pilings, piers, foundation to be removed, and the building site to be filled to the prevailing grade. I'd entertain a motion to that effect. Councillors Niche, Councillor Skelton Morvan. All right. If the owner or the owner's representative would like to speak to this resolution, now would be the time to do that.
Thank you very much, gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen on the call. My name is Peter Hasman. I'm here with the registered owner, Marie Lowong. We are in the vehicle right now, so thank you for taking the time. So, ladies and gentlemen, we were talking to a lady by the name of Mrs. Miller, Rosa Miller. So what we're asking for, I'm a real estate developer and in real estate for many, many years, for about 26 years. She's a personal friend of mine. I know nothing about Prince Rupert. The only thing we are asking, if possible, we have a very dear friend of ours that's been living in Prince Rupert for about 35 years, a very great businessman in Prince Rupert. So I asked him to go to the city to find, if possible, what we can build on that property so I can give this money to this lovely lady, Miss Marie Lowong, the registered owner, so we can demolish it and start building what's suitable or what's acceptable for the.
Oh no.
Can you hear me? Sorry.
There we are. You're back.
So somebody else just called on my cell phone. We were just using the cell phone. Sorry about that. As I was saying, so we have a very good friend of ours by the name of Mr. Parm Sandhu in Prince Rupert. Hopefully he should be on the call very, very soon. He just got home. So what he's saying, what we asked him is for him to go to the city hall to you guys to find out what is acceptable for us to build in that specific zone, so we can demolish it, give her the money, so we can take everything out. Because we asked 3 people for a quote in Prince Rupert, and the price was absolutely, I believe, based on my knowledge, probably 3 times the value that anybody else from Calgary or Alberta could do it. So we talked to Mr. Sandhu in Prince Rupert. He wants to go to the city, I believe, tomorrow or the next couple of days to see exactly what we can build on that property. We will hire a crew to come and demolish it as soon as possible. We will have the architect approved by you guys, hopefully based on the recommendations that we're allowed to build on that site. And we're just asking for just a little bit more time, ladies and gentlemen, on this call.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Sandhu, did you have any comments that you wanted to make? You're on.
I'm not sure if
Mr.
Sandhu, are you on the call?
He is.
Oh, perfect.
You're on mute, though. You're still on mute.
Can you hear me?
Well, we can hear you. There we are. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parm.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
So I would like to help these guys in a manner where we can resolve this whole situation.
Okay.
So
All right.
Mr. Peter Hasna asking for more time, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Councillor Cunningham.
Okay, well, you know, the fire was over a year ago, 13, 14 months ago, to put it correct. Since then, I haven't seen one effort whatsoever to approach City Hall or anything in that time. And even when you did own the property and it was a grow up to our understanding,
I want to remind you, you need to talk to me. And I didn't own the property.
yeah,
Thank
okay.
you.
But the property during all that time was in disputable condition. It's the bus and the car have been there, wrecked and everything. While the last year and a half of being here, a tow truck could have, with minimal cost, could have taken care of that part of it. I just find that you know, asking for an extension at this point, I find it very difficult to see how it's going to be followed through. And you know,
That
with
makes
all
sense.
due
You know what I
respect to
mean?
Mr. Just hear me
You
out.
need to wait until I recognize you. Okay, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anyway, and you know, as with all respect to Mr. Sandu, he came before council approximately 2 years ago to get rezoning to start an apartment, and the grass hasn't even been cut where he was going to do it. So if he's still working on that project, I'd like to see where they're going to get the time to do this, and I'd also like to know what type of business you're going to put in there.
Okay. Councillor Niche.
I'm under the assumption that this property has not had insurance on it, as the cleanup there's been no discussion of insurance. To me, if there was no insurance on this project, it should have been started on day one, starting a cleanup effort, knowing that there's nothing to argue about. So the community has spoken loudly over the last year, 15 months about these properties, and they're disgusted by them and they want to see them removed. To me, this is a last ditch effort at trying to get a cheaper price, but the reality is that there's only so many contractors in this town that can do that work, and you may be able to get somebody else to come from out of town and do it, but that's what's available in our town. And I see absolutely no reason to delay this any further. The community has spoken, and it's time for it to go.
Thank you. Councillor Forster.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. An assumption I have, and I just want to check that assumption, is this is not the first letter that has gone to the owner of the property. I'm wondering how many letters have gone to the property in the last year.
Director Miller, who I should add is acting city manager, as Dr. Buchan is on vacation. Go ahead, Director Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since April of this year, we've sent 11 letters to the owner. The first one in April went by regular mail. Every other letter, all other 10, went by email and then registered mail.
Starting, do you have dates? Rough, like I'm not looking for specific
June 15th
dates, but
was the first, then July 17th, July 27th, August 2nd, August 8th.
that's good. Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I think, in my opinion, it would be hard to argue that there hasn't been opportunity to respond up until this point. There's been ample opportunity. So yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Right. Councillor 80.
Just a couple of questions, just to clarify for my own understanding. What's at issue here is the timing and the cost of the demolition.
Right.
What is not at issue, as far as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the subsequent ownership of the property and any plans that the owners may formulate to build something there after the demolition takes place.
Correct.
So, for my mind, what we're talking about here is a dispute over the cost of the demolition. And so the other pieces of what's being articulated over, well, what can we build after the fact? I think that's open to their own decision making within the the context of city zoning. I guess my question is that correct?
Yes, I think you summarize it well. The recommendation that's in front of you, to put it in just plain language, says the bus and the car have got to be gone by the end of this week, and that they have 30 days to begin to commence substantial demolition of the, and there is no, I mean, I'm going to speak like I know something. I have no expertise in this, but anybody walking by that building understands that there's no construction that's going to take place on that site without the complete removal of everything that's there. So yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Councillor 80.
So I'll just follow up then with we're a little troubled by the word substantial and who ultimately makes the judgment about whether it's substantial enough.
Director,
and perhaps others would also be
Director
concerned.
Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So what would be involved in a demolition would be to actually apply for a demolition permit, and then the substantial completion or commencement of that would be determined by the inspector, the building inspector. So the intent behind that was that we don't want someone to apply for a demolition permit and then lift one board out of the property and then say, but I'm demolishing the property. There needs to look as though there's been substantial work. That's a fairly common term in the building department.
Councillor 80.
And my last question is with regard to the process involved in demolition. It's my understanding that there are standards now in terms of sorting of materials and so on in terms of making it as environmentally conscious as possible. Is it true that those standards would apply whether we were doing the demolition or whether the demolitions was being done through private means?
Correct. Yes. Yes. If there are, things like asbestos or other dangerous materials on that site, they need to be identified, separated, and handled appropriately. All right.
No.
Councillor Cunningham.
Well, I find it interesting that you've been given notices since April.
Well, I haven't been given any notices. You're talking to me.
Oh, sorry.
I
Through
know
the
it's
mayor
hard.
to the owner, then.
Yeah.
How's that sound?
That's right.
Does that stroke you right? Okay. You've been given notices to look after this, and now that we're finally putting the foot down and saying it's got to be done, you're coming before us, and you don't even.
They're not. I really need to be particular. You're not talking to them. You can say the owner is coming in front of us, but talk to me.
The owner's coming in front of us now.
Yeah.
And asking for an extension when the owner has no definite plan or anything, yet they're asking for an extension. Yeah. I would have thought the owner would have come tonight and saying, this is what we're going to do, not, well, these are the ideas we have. We're looking for somebody to do it. You've had lots of time to look for somebody to do it. And I really think that asking for an extension at this time without any definite plan is just, there's no, it's hard to trust when we've been looking at this and having constituents constantly complain to us about this mess. And also now that the adjoining property is being totally cleaned up and looks great, yours sticks out like a sore thumb now. So I really think that, I find it just very difficult to support an extension.
Councillor Forster.
Sorry, one last thing. I just want to check an assumption I have. In the recommendation, we have, or it is written, 30 days. My assumption is that's 30 calendar days, not 30 business days.
Director Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That is correct. 30 days. Calendar
30 calendar.
days.
30 calendar days. Thank you very much.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All right, I will turn to the owner one last time. If there are any other comments you'd like to make, any corrections or things that you would like to say at this time.
Okay, first of all, thank you very much. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you. So the owner will definitely speak. I just found this out, like just while we're talking on the car here, that the city put an offer or tried to put an offer to purchase this property from the owner.
They didn't put an offer. They said they have the interest in. They have the interest in buying this property, and I have
How long ago?
October 27, 2022. So, and then I keep connecting with him until the end of March, and he said that the government, you guys didn't get the funding to buy it. So when he was in the beginning, when he say, I have the email here, all my records, because they want to build something on there, and toward the end, beginning of this year in March, he finally said that you guys could not get the federal funding for it, so they no longer interested. So at the same time, I was trying to get some quotes in the city for the city to demolish it and clean it up. But I guess the price was kind of high, and I'm trying to refinance a house here to get it. And Peter knows that he's been helping me with the process. And according to the emails that I get, the first letter to get was in October, sent to me. But I did not, saying that I have 30 days to do this. But I never get any email from you guys. But that's, doesn't matter, right? I did get the letter afterwards.
Okay.
So we just asking for some more time that I could do this. The holdback wasn't just all me. I could forward you all the email, and develop the director of economic, Paul Vanditelli. He's the one I was talking to.
All right. Thank you, Director or Councillor Forster.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, yes.
Hang on, just I'll come back to you. I promise. Councillor Forster.
I'm wondering, Mr. Mayor, if there is a commitment from the owner to remove the bus and the car by this Friday. We're being asked as a council, my understanding is for an extension, but I have yet to hear a single date be offered when. We've discussed as a group, and we've heard it's quite cheap to tow a vehicle away. But I haven't heard any offers that shows me that this will actually happen. I'm wondering if there is any promise or guarantee that we are going to hear.
There you go. It seems to me the owner may have thought of something else they wanted to add, and I'll allow you to respond to Councillor Forster.
Did you understand that?
So the reason Paul said that he's interested in our property is that the empty lot beside us is also belong to the city, so he could build it together. So I was all excited. I was willing to let go the way it is and let the city clean up and take it at a cheaper price, right? So I was waiting for him. So my very last letter from him was, I don't know, March something. I have it all here.
March 9th.
March 9th.
I see it on your email. Talk to them, please, on the phone.
Yes, March 9th. No, he said like, no, it was even after March 9th. It was a phone call. I had to call in and to see what was going on. But he didn't reply to the email that there was no more interest. Finally, when I got a hold of him, he said they didn't get the government grant, the federal funding for it. So that's when I had to struggle to refinance my house to do this.
I'm going to wrap
I could forward you all the email later.
Okay. Director Miller, do you have anything else you want to add?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will note that it would not be appropriate for staff to discuss any potential land conversations, that there's legal implications to that. I can comment on the fact that there are no current offers, agreements, pending deals, or any of the latter with respect to this property.
Thank you. All right, council, I would ask for your vote on this matter. All in favor of the recommendation? Any opposed? It is carried unanimously. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. We now move on to the report from the corporate administrator with regards to remedial action order 1127, 1133, 2nd Avenue West, Prince Rupert, and it's all described there, but I am going to have to read the entire recommendation, so I'm not going to read every piece of that.
Yeah,
And I am looking, I think I'm missing the tail end. Here we are. Here we go. And I will note, council, that there are some word changes. I'll identify those when I get to them, all right? The recommendation is as follows. That the property located at 1127 and 1133 2nd Avenue West, Prince Rupert, BC, legally described as lots 18, 19, 20, and 21, block 27, section 1, in brackets, the property, to be declared a hazard under section 73 and a nuisance under section 74 of the community charter at the registered owner, and we need to change and is changed to and that the registered owner of the property, and then some new wording inserted, be required to substantially clean the property by August 31st, 2023, including the removal of all outside and area garbage and recycling, including garbage, and then in brackets, the remediation from in between 1127 and 1133 2nd Avenue West. And that if the remediation work, and I'll add, cited above, is not completed by August 31st, staff are directed to proceed with the remediation with all costs associated to be borne by the registered owner. And is inserted, and that the building, in brackets, the building, located at the property be declared a hazard under section 73 and a nuisance under section 74 of the community charter, and not at, and that the registered owner of the property be required to commence action to remove or demolish the building within 30 days. And that if the work to have the building removed has not substantially commenced by September 30th, 2023, staff are directed to remove the building with all costs associated to be borne by the registered owner. And that, for the purpose of this resolution, remove or demolish shall mean to either remove or cause to be removed all building components, including but not limited to the roof, beams, walls, floors, electrical, plumbing, and mechanical systems to the remaining foundation, and any wood or concrete pilings, piers, and foundation to be removed, and that the building site to be filled to the prevailing grade. Can I have a motion to that effect? Councillor Forster, Councillor Adey. All right, having read that, and I believe we may have the owner or a representative of the owner on the call or on the phone. If the owner has anything they would like to say, now would be the time. And at this time, we're still on mute. You're still muted. Hit star 7. If you're on a cell phone, you may need, or if you're on the phone, you may need to hit star 7, I'm being advised. We still have not got any sound coming. We have a phone, but no. Oh, there we go. Are you there?
Hello. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Begin by introducing yourself.
Yeah, this is Pierre Wong, the property owner. So I have sent him email and then with the PFD file regarding the building. And I want to know what's your opinion on my comments.
Well, I'm not actually in a position to answer on behalf of council. I put it this way: are there comments or questions from council, and then I'll come back to the owner.
Okay, because
hang on, Mr. Owner. Hang on just a second, Mr. Wong. I'm going to have you just hold for a second, Councillor Niche.
Pretty well the longs of the same as the last comments of the last building. You know, this building was in terrible condition before the fire, and not looked after, and numerous cleanups done by the city before the fire, never mind since the fire. There's been no action on this property since these fires have happened, and there's been no efforts that I've seen that show any reason as to why they would do anything. So I'm under the opinion, once again, that this needs to happen immediately.
Are there any other comments? Councillor Adey.
Just a question with regard to, again, the process of demolishing. This is a building that's in very close proximity to a number of other buildings, some of which are kept well, and the people who live in them enjoy living there and so on. I'm just wondering whether there are provisions in place for ensuring that when the cleanup happens, there's no unintended consequences for the surrounding properties that we would need to prevent from happening. I'm thinking in terms of whether there's any rodents or anything of that nature that might move elsewhere as a result of the demolition.
Relocate. Director Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In anticipation of the cleanup, we have contracted with a pest removal company to go and attend the property. We have placed traps around the property. We have had numerous reports of rodents in the area. So as a preventative measure, we've already gone ahead and started with that process to try and alleviate any further issues once the demolition takes place, but that is definitely a consideration.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from council at this moment? I'll go back to you, Mr. Wong. The floor is yours.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Anything you want to say?
I say, what has the city done to my property? Okay, I put up the fence, not really fencing off, but bought it up completely, and it got destroyed. Okay, and then when the insurance company comes in, they bought it up again with thicker plywood to block it up, special screw. There's so much privilege. What the city have done to prevent all this privilege? Are those the duty of the city or the duty of mine? To be fair, okay, I'm not trying to accuse anyone, but the way the privilege was going on in the building, I don't know why. Why did all this happen? Few special secret entries by the thief, and they secretly steal so many things available in the building. Who is responsible? And now they're coming asking me how the building was not looked after. And taken all the precautions, what the insurance company thinks is necessary, bought it up properly, but it got all destroyed. I'd like the council to see what what's the opinion on that one? Or the opinion from you, Mayor? Okay.
Well, I'm not going to make a lot of comment. The theft or the illegal entering into the building, all of those are the responsibility of the owner, and it's unfortunate, but those are
So,
those realities.
so the city is not responsible for anything, as you say, correct?
We're certainly not responsible for the theft of tools and the other things that you identified in your letter. All right, Councillor Cunningham.
So through the mayor to the owner, what are your intentions with this property? It's been sitting there for
Let me help you with this.
a while.
If you're using you to him, you're talking. You need to say, ask me what the owner's intentions are.
Okay, what are the owner's intentions, Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. Sorry, but we need to just make sure we do this well. Mr. Wong, you have been asked what your intentions for the property are.
I have mentioned it in the letters. Negotiation is still ongoing with the insurance company. Okay? So how can I disclose anything for my intention?
Okay.
And you say the city is not responsible for anything. So far now, all I can hear. So it's a disgrace to hear that.
All right. Any other questions? Oh, Councillor Randhawa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Wondering if owner heard any deadline or timeline from insurance company, how long that will take to act on that, or like it will be going forever?
Mr. Wong, the question is, do you have any timeline from the insurance company? Is there any assurance in terms of times and dates that you can provide council?
You see, even the date you people quote, you read it. You quoted wrong on the day of the fire.
Correct. Yes, we understand that there were two fires. One was on December 8th, 2021, so that's 20 months ago.
But
and the
you
second
quoted
the fire was
2020.
on the second
You
fire
quoted
was
2020.
20.
Okay?
That's
What's
what was
Rose
said
Miller?
in the letter. Mr. Wong, just hang on.
Okay.
The fires occurred on December the 28th, 2021. I'm reading from your letter, which was 20 months
Is it
ago.
correct?
And December
Is it
29th,
correct?
2022, which was 8 months ago. Correct?
Is my date correct, or your date quoted by Mira is correct?
Sure. Yes. All right. Any other questions or comments from council? Director Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a point with respect to the dates, regardless of whether it was 2020 or 2021, that's irrelevant. The fact remains that the property is in disrepair.
That's irrelevant.
Oh, Mr. Wong, Mr. Wong, I will mute you. You may not speak until you're recognized to speak. Continue, Director Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Regardless of whether the date was 2020 or 2021, the fact remains that there were two fires at the property. I would need to confirm with the fire department and the fire chief to confirm those dates. But the fact remains that the property, regardless of when the fire happened, that's not a material matter at this point. It needs to be cleaned up regardless of when it happened.
All right, Mr. Wong, I'll give you one last chance to comment.
Okay, regarding cleanup, I tried so many times to clean it up. And the city was never responsible. Even previously, when was the garbage dump, people just come and dump all the garbage right into the property, and it's my duty to clean it up. That's ridiculous. And I understand the city has the same problem. Even on city property, people dump garbage on it. Okay? Why the city is not responsible to clear gap? People say ask the city to provide all those, how call this one, signs saying that dumping is illegal. Just like here, most of the time I live in Vancouver, and see that Vancouver do post up those signs for those places that people illegal dumping, and they stop the problem. And why city of Prince Rupert are not doing it? I'm just wondering why. A good example from other cities was not copied for Prince Rupert. Why? Okay? And for privilege.
All right.
Why? Why was not looked after? I brought up completely to satisfaction for myself and to the insurance company. The best we can do. And now the city say I'm not looking after it. And that was ridiculous recommendation, a comment from the city.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Wong.
I'm totally against it.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Wong. Councillor Skelton-Morvan.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think we do have a motion on the floor at this time, so I imagine it's probably a good time to wrap up. But just to second what Councillor Niche had stated, that the property had many challenges prior to that fire. With some of the cases being made aware to myself personally through different parties that had complaints about the property being in disrepair, those being tenants in that building and different things like that. So at this point, for us, the matter is not whether the dates are correct or different things like that. I would like to wrap up the matter.
All right. Are you ready? All in favor of the recommendation? Any opposed? It is carried unanimously. Thank you very much, Mr. Wong. All right, we now move on to two bylaws. Bylaw 6A is Infrastructure Replacement Design Loan Authorization Bylaw number 3519, with a recommendation that Council introduces and gives fourth and final reading to the Infrastructure Replacement Design Loan Authorization Bylaw number 3419. Motion to that effect, Councillor Niche, Councillor Skelton-Morvan. This is the $5 million borrowing, and I would ask Director Miller, we went to an alternate approval process, which would have required somewhere in the neighborhood of, well, not exactly 10%, I think, of the registered voters, which would have been in 1,000 names or something to that effect. Can you give us a little bit of an update on where that landed?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So that process closed on Monday at 4:30 p.m. And at that point, we received 47 signatures in opposition to the loan authorization. So we did not meet the threshold, and so as such, can be put forward to fourth.
Okay. And again, for clarity, both this borrowing, the $5 million, and the $40 million are in association with a much our pieces in leveraging a much larger amount of money. The $205 million total package, 65 from the province, which we have, $82 million, which is the maximum that the feds will lend against a $205 million project. It's 40% of the project. To make that a $205 million project, we needed to come up with 58. This 40 and this 5 take us to 45. There's a missing 13. If you watch the video, you'll get some idea of how the rest of the 13. And earlier, Mr. Saka was here, and he's not incorrect in that if we are unsuccessful in finding other sources of revenue, the backstop to this borrowing will require increasing the utility fees, right? So in that portion, he is correct. What we hope very much, whether through addressing the port tax cap or the Resource Benefit Alliance or other grants that we might receive, that part will never be necessary. But we had to come up with the 58 million now so that the feds could make a decision on whether to give us the 82. I hope that's all clear to everybody. So in front of us is this resolution, and I would look for a mover and a seconder. Councillor Randawa, Councillor Ady.
Mr. Mayor, you do already have a mover.
Do I have a mover and
Yes,
a seconder?
yes,
I'm just so...
Councillor Nation, Councillor Skelton Morgan.
Well, save those two names for the next one, will you? Thank you very much. Any discussion? Councillor Cunningham.
So my understanding on this is that when or if we get the RBA or any other income, then we will not be increasing utility fees.
Not for this. I would not want to put out that there will not be an increase in the utility fees, but that extra money would prevent us from this driving that kind of an increase. Yes, that's the idea.
The 40, well, okay, maybe I'm a little confused here. The 5 million is one loan. The
Correct.
40 million is the one that will increase the utility fees.
I believe either would have some impact on utility fees if there are no other source of revenue.
Yeah, and when we had this initial discussion, I brought up the fact that the extra burden on the utility fees to the taxpayer and things like that.
Yes.
And we were told at that time, if we're successful in getting the RBA, the caps, or any other extra revenue, it would pay down what the taxpayer would have to pay.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. That's the intention. Obviously, those things are they're inside our influence, out of our control. So we need to, accept that the result of this decision, if everything else fails, would be an increase in utilities. There's just no other way.
I'm just trying to make sure that that's on the table. That if we get those pie in the sky ideas, the RBA, the cap, the PILT, or whatever.
Correct. We are working hard to that end. Director Pucci's almost full-time attention, other than having the water pipes that are burst fixed, has been concentrating on the 82 million. But once we hear from Ottawa on the 82 million, we will be full bore on those other sources of revenues. And we have been. Director Pucci and myself and Dr. Buchan were in Victoria a month ago meeting with the Minister of Transportation, and I was on a phone call just this past week with the Deputy Minister of Finance and Deputy Minister of Municipal Affairs. They're all asking, how's your water pipes? So they know about it. But yes, I think you frame it well. Any other comments or questions? All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. We then go on to the linear liquid waste infrastructure replacement loan, and I understand even by the title why that might cause people to think we're talking about the Omanika project, but it is not. It's about tying into the, anyway. The recommendation is that Council introduces and gives fourth and final reading to the infrastructure replacement design loan authorization bylaw number 3420 2023, and we already have a mover and a seconder. You've got them recorded. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. Are there any other items that you want to raise at this time? Councillor Cunningham.
Okay, it's been brought to me personally, the slow times for EMS responding to incidents in our town, and the confusion when people phone 911 that it's being directed to Kamloops, Kelowna, Victoria, and they're being asked questions that somebody not familiar with our town would naturally ask, and it delays the EMS response as it is. And the fact that we have dispatchers at the fire hall, I'm wondering why we can't take care of our own 911 calls in this town. Especially with the situation last week or the week before where we lost 911 for a while.
Director Miller, do you have any information on this at all, or is this something you have to come back?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. It is actually something that we have been in conversations with the fire chief and myself, as well as the province. So we are looking at alternatives to the traditional 911 dispatch service. So we can certainly do some additional research and get back to council on that.
Thank you. Councillor Cunningham.
Okay, minor detail, but we're all complaining about dogs messing up here and there. And at the 6th Avenue Bridge, there used to be a garbage can there, and people walking their dogs on Rustbrook or that would clean up after their dogs, come up and drop their little baggies in the garbage can that has mysteriously disappeared. And people are still dropping the little bags on the ground where the garbage can was.
They have muscle memory, do they?
Yes.
All right. I see that Director Miller is making a note.
And then
that effect.
just
Councillor
two
Cunningham.
points. This weekend coming up is Utterfest at the Tom Rooney Theater, and it's a display of a lot of local talent that's excellent in this town and that. And it should, hopefully a lot of people will attend it. It's also performers from the Northwest as well, so it's usually an excellent situation.
It in fact starts this evening.
Yes.
And if you, there are various places you'll find the schedule, but if you want to find the schedule, you can go to harbortheater.ca. If that doesn't work for you, anyway, find the Harbor Theater website, and they have a list of show times and what's going on.
And just one last thing, we've talked about it personally amongst ourselves and that, but I think the public has to be told the effort, and I think you can elaborate on more because you're here every day, that staff and especially the workers on the ground, the yard and that are putting forth with our water, working 12-hour days, 7 days a week and things like that. But I'd like you to elaborate on if you could, Mayor.
I thanks for the opportunity, because it can't be said enough what these men and women are doing for us. Again, I encourage you to watch that really long video, because it starts to come to life. I hope you get it. There are the two reservoir tanks at Montreal Circle. A lot of people don't know where Montreal Circle is, but it's inside of the Crestview Loop, right? It's on the old city map. It's Montreal Circle. The reservoirs are there. Where we draw our water from is off of our island over on the mainland. Shawantlands is the backup. Woodworth is the main lake, where the previous council, and many of you are part of that previous council, raised the money from other sources to replace the dam, and thank heavens you did, and replace some of the water pipe. Again, Director Pucci goes into real detail on the whiteboard on this, and you can see it. We are experiencing breaks in the lines that go from there to the reservoir. And we're fixing them, and then 10 feet away, it's breaking again. And so the actual supply to the reservoir is being threatened. And then to work on that, they have to then reroute water through pipes that aren't made to carry that much water to refill the reservoir. And so they're breaking. And I don't know what the count is right now of open holes around the city, but I can tell you this, the estimate is that we've spent $500,000 in the last couple of weeks. That's basically throwaway money, because when we go to fix the system, we're going to be removing those patches and whatever. And so it's why this push to get the $205 million project started and off the ground, so that we're not doing patches, but we can't spend a dime of that money we're assembling until the feds say yes, or their money gets reduced, right? So it's this nervous state we're in. And to do that, we have crews working around the clock working long shifts, going home, getting a bit of sleep, and going back to keep that water on. We were close to losing water in 1,000 homes. And the only thing, because they had one commitment, was when those people wake up in the morning, they're going to be able to bathe their babies in water that comes from their taps. And it's not only our crews, but we've got other contractors working on those things, and they're putting in those efforts. This is what, you know, every day you go turn on your tap and the water comes out, and you go on your way. And I actually think, in recognition of the former council, the most significant piece of work that was done by the former council is I think, underappreciated piece of work, which was the dam and the water pipes and all the fundraising. Because why is it underappreciated? Because every time I turn on my tap, water still comes out, right? And the previous council did a lot of other great things. I'm not in any way trying to minimize it, but that has made our city livable. Because you cannot live in a city that does not have a water distribution system. You might be able to go to a truck and get potable water so you can have something to drink, but if you can't flush your toilet, and if you can't wash your clothes, and if you can't have a shower or bathe your kids, you can no longer live here. And the fight that goes on, sometimes in the middle of the weekend, sometimes in the middle of the night, is to keep us a place that people can still live while we go on and raise the money to get the real permanent work done. And there will have to be a time where we celebrate those workers. But they're so tired. They don't want us coming right now to celebrate them. They just want to go home to bed when they get off the shifts. But we'll take some time to celebrate those workers because they have kept us livable. And thank you for the opportunity to let me go on and on and on. Again, watch the video. Any other comments or questions from council? I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Councillor Randawa, Councillor Forster, all in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. Meeting's adjourned.